Okay, children, let me continue. On the same page number 163, only one part only we have completed. What has happened, how the class was, what is given in the bulletin board. So, where is the French class? It is next to the garden. Who is the master? Mr. Hamel. Till that we have seen, he is very strict master. Children could not understand what is grammar. So, that day what is going to be taken? French grammar about participles. In English, we know the participle present, past and future participles. Okay, let me go to the thing. When he entered the school very lately, so he was expecting the shout of the master. Instead of that, he welcomed the student very kindly and said, I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Who jumped over? The narrator is France. He jumped over the bench and sat down my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap all embroidered that he never wore except on inspection and the prize days. So, after he entered the class only, out of hurry, he was not noticed how the sir was dressing up. After he entered the class, he was sitting on the bench by jumped over because other boys are there, He jumped over and sitting on the bench and watched. The sir was dressed entirely different. So, what kind of dress he wear? So, he used to wear the dress only on the occasional days, that is function days. Whenever the DOs, COs comes, that day only he used to wear that kind of dress. So, how the master looked like, what dress he wore? Beautiful green coat. Coat is what I said. What are the dresses he wore? So, teacher appearance. He wear beautiful green coat. Frilled shirt. Shirt is what? Inside the thing, he got frilled shirt. Frilled means somewhat the surukama irukum, frills, adukadukka irukum solvom paranga, like that. And black silk cap also. What color it is? Black color, silk. All embroidered that he never wore. Was when he used to wear only on the inspection days and occasional days. What are the days he is wearing it? Inspection and occasion. Only he wore on particular days only, but he is wearing because it is the last day. The children doesn't know that is the last day for the French class, but sir knows. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. Solemn means what? Silent. But the thing had surprised me most was to see on the black benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Not only students, the front row the students are occupying. The last rows will be vacant generally. The last rows now it is occupied by village people. Who are the village people? Old houser with his 3 concerned hat. He is wearing the hat. The former mayor, former postmaster and several others. Who are the important persons? Who are the important persons there? He is the head of the village, houser, head of the village. And former mayor, former mayor, former postmaster, and several others. Several means what? Many. Everybody looked sad. And Hauser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the page. So he was opening the spectacles. Spectacles means what? Specs. He was wearing the specs and returning the pages. While I was wondering about it all, Hamel mounted his chair and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, my children. Now he is sitting on the chair and addressed the children. What he said? My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. What master said? This is the last lesson what I am going to take you. The order has come from Berlin. Berlin is the capital of Germany. So from where they got the order? From Berlin. It is the capital of Germany. To teach only German in the schools of Alaska and Lorraine, the 2 places. What are the 2 places? Germany only must start, Alaska and Lorraine. The two places, only what should be taught? Germany only instead of French. And I want to be very attentive. So when you hear the news, this is your French lesson, last French lesson. And I want to be very attentive. The sir said I should take the lesson very attentively. What a thunderclap these words were to me. So immediately I was very happy. So interesting news he heard because it doesn't like French. So when the sir said this is the last day, he was very happy because he was free away from the classes, French classes. Thunderclaps. So thunder, lightning and thunder. So suppose the thunder makes the clap, how it will be? Such a jolly mood the boy was. The little narrator, what's his name? I said France. Oh, the resters. That was that they had put up all the town hall. So he was imagining what is on the town hall. My last French lesson. Why? I hardly knew how to write. It doesn't know to write. I should never learn anymore. I must stop there. How sorry I was not for learning my lessons. Now only I realized this is the last day. From tomorrow onwards, if either the narrator wants to learn the lesson also, there should be nobody to teach French. Not only nobody to teach, even the French is not at all in that places, because what should be used in the place of French? Germany. So I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking bird sex or going sliding on the Saar. That is a river. Saar is a river in that place. My books that had seemed such a nuisance while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints, were whole friends now that I could not give up. Now only he is interested. What are the subjects he had learned? Grammar, history, everything. He felt very bored. He felt that those subjects are bored for him. The French language as well as history. Now he realized how he is losing all the lessons. And Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, and made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. So he was, when he said this is the last day, he felt sorry for the subjects what he has not learned, as well as for the master who was with him for so many years. Poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old man in the village was sitting there and the back of the room. Now only I understood. What for they are sitting? Because this is the last day they have to hear the French language. From tomorrow onwards, German has to be introduced. So everybody, throughout the village, they want to honor the French as well as the French masters. So they gathered in the same place. Clear, children? Honor means what? Respect. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service. How many years he was working? The master was working nearly 40 years. In the beginning I said no. He was working 40 years in the same place, in the same school, taught only French grammar and French. So people are standing there. First, so there is respect for the country and there is no more. Now the country belongs to German. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. Sir called his name. His name is what? France. It was my turn to recite. What would I not given to be able to say the dreadful rule of the participle all through, very loud and clear, and without one mistake. But I got mixed up on the first word and stood there. Even when he said, say the grammar, he just stood and say the first word itself what? Wrong. And my heart beating and not daring to look up. His heart was beating. Out of situation, sir, what is going to do? He was worrying about, and his heart beat like anything, fastly. But Hamel, that is a French master, he never get angry on him. And instead of that, he said, it is my fault. I am not teaching you properly. The sir said like, I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, I have plenty of time. I will learn it tomorrow. He has to say, every today, used to say the excuse to the sir, I will learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. Even he said, he cannot say, I will learn tomorrow, because tomorrow what should not be there? French should not be there. That's a great trouble with Alice. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now, those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it you pretended to Frenchmen and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language? What is it? Don't say that you are a French boy because he could not speak French, he could not write French. Neither speak nor write. Neither means no. He cannot speak and he cannot write. So don't say yourself a Frenchman. As a mother, if it is a mother tongue, we must know to learn, we must know to talk, or else we must know to write. It doesn't know both. But we are not the worst. We have all great deal to reproach ourselves with. What is it? Not only blame on your side, even my side also. Even parents' side also. Because your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on the farm or the mills. What is it? Parents are not bothering about. What your parents will do if you are not learning? Certainly they will make you to go some other work. They will stop the education and go for the farm, mill, like that they will say. And I have been to blame also. What is it? Suppose a child is not learning, what French master say? A child is not learning, teacher not be blamed. Because parents are not to be blamed. Because they are at home, they don't know what the children are learning. As a teacher, it is the duty of the teacher to imbibe the education on them, he said. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you holiday? So the fault on the author side also, that is French master also, because whenever he wants to water the garden, because he is a dull-headed, no, he used to say this little narrator only to go and water the plants. Sometimes his hobby is fishing. Whose hobby? French master hobby is fishing. Whenever he go for fishing, what he used to say, he declared leave for the French class. So we cannot blame the boys alone. Even we have to blame the teacher also. Why should we blame the teacher? Because he is sending the particular boy to water the plants always. And whenever he go for fishing whenever you go for fishing, he declared holiday for the French class. So we have to blame the French master also. Then from one thing to another, Hamel went to talk of the French language, that it was the most beautiful language in the world. Who said? Master said, because everybody. So when your mother tongue is Telugu, what you will say? Telugu is the beautiful language. If it is Tamil, we will say Tamil is the beautiful language. So this is the nature of the thing, what we have, that shows the interest that we have on our mother tongue. Then he opened the grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. Now he is concentrating. Who is concentrating? The little narrator concentrated the lesson and hearing. And all he said to be seemed so easy. Because he is very attentive in the class, no? He could easily understand the grammar, what he has taken. I think I had never listened so carefully. Now only I came to know what is the fault on his side. What is the fault? He is not at all paying attention to the lessons. Because when entering class itself, he used to say, this is the board class, French, it does not come to us. Like that, he is not listening. Because now the master said, this is the last day. He creates interest and is listening. Now everything is easy for him. Easily he could understood what's the meaning of the grammar. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away, and to put in all our heads at once too. So what the master decided, he wants to rectify his fault. He wants to inculcate the French language to all the minds of the students, those who depend on him. After the grammar, we had a lesson writing. First he took the grammar, then he asked the children to write. Hamel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand, France, alas, like that we have to write. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in this classroom, hung from the rod at the top of our desk. So, just like Beatles flow, the papers he is writing, France. That is France nowadays. From a particular area where the narrator is in Alaska. So he said that particular place is not under the control of France. He has written only the two letters, France, Alaska. We can say Alaska also. It Beatles like, that is how the flies and all fly, the same like the papers fly throughout the classroom. Will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? Even the pigeons also. Then the narrator think over, okay, they insist the children and everybody, those who are living in that particular town, to learn German. But the birds are singing in their own language only. We cannot impose them to sing in the particular. So far you are singing in French language. Now you learn now you have to sing in German language. Can we say like that to the birds? Because birds' language is different. Nobody can insist them to sing in the particular language. Their language is originated. From the beginning to end, they will sing in the same language. Only nobody can imbibe or nobody can insist them to sing in different language. Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another. So the boys were writing, then and then he is watching what the master was doing. He was simply sitting and thinking about something. Fancy, for 40 years he had been there in the same place with his garden outside and window and his class in front of him. So how many years he was working? 40 years. So what are the trees around the thing? Walnut trees in the garden were taller. Now he has 40 years. What are the, not only is teaching the French grammar, French, even he was making such a big garden. What are the plants? The walnut trees. They were very taller. And the vines means creepers. The creepers, they just broke into this. They just fixed in the glass windows, everything. Now he was feeling sorry for him. Who was feeling sorry? The narrator was feeling sorry for the master because he is working in the school 40 years, in the same place. He cultivated the garden. The garden looks very beautiful now. Many birds are singing in that. It makes the classroom very attractive. Though everything is there, he has to leave the school. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. After the writing, even he is not fed up with the last day. Even in the last day also, he is teaching with more encourageably, more courageously to the children. After the writing, we had a lesson in the history, and then the babies chanted there. That is different language. Down there at the back and the rule, Vasa had put on his spectacles and holding his primer on both hands, spelled the letters with them. He has written and spelled every letter. That is, for example, if it is A, he said A, B, C, like that, he spelled the letter. You could see that he too was crying, his voice trembled with emotion. He was almost crying, his voice trembled. That is out of, suppose when you are crying, you used to talk with others. That voices differ from the other voice. Like that, he was almost crying. It was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry. How well I remember it, the last lesson. Because the Sir said, this is the last lesson. He is listening very interestedly and every word he could understood very well. At once the church clock struck 12. Church clock struck means what? Says 12. 12 o'clock it is. That is the closing time of the class. Then the Angelus, at the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians returning from drill sounded over windows. The Prussians, they came to the thing. They are completing the drill because it belongs to that part, German part it is. So they came there. Hamel stood up very pale in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. So he was, before that he used to sit and take the classes. Sometimes he bend and take the classes. Now only he stand erectly. Erectly means what? Straightly. Now he is very tall. He said, my friends, but something choked him. He started to talk, he could not talk. Choked means what? Something hidden in between. He could not go on. Then he turned to the blackboard. He could not speak. When we could not speak, how can we present our feelings? By writing. So he is writing on the board. He is taking a piece of chalk and writing on the board. We love France. What he has written? That means long live France. He doesn't want to invite German. So he said long live France. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall and without a word he made a gesture to us with his hand. School is dismissed, you may go. He could not speak and he said, he was leaning on the wall. Leaning on the wall means what? Just he's leaning on the wall and said, he could not speak a word and by the action he said, school is dismissed and you may go. Clear? This is the lesson. So because this is in the French language, the words are given at the back. You can see the meaning of everything. Bustle means what? Move in energetic manner. Okay, thank you children. The lesson completed. You have to go through the question and answers from your guide. Thank you.